Welcome to the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies. As you may know, I'm Tony Arkin. That's Matthew Arkin. We're the Arkin Brothers. We talk about movies. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the amazing 47 Meters Down with an amazing special guest, the director of the movie, Johannes Roberts. 2017's 47 Meters Down. Welcome to the show.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win a Matthew, and Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime. The Arkin Brothers talk about movies.
I think I'll go for a swim.
Were there technical problems?
Was there a technical problem?
My
No.
computer was a bit frozen for a moment.
No, it came through beautifully on my end. I love that thumbnail of us in place of the ladies in this movie.
Yeah, I do too. I think Ilya outdid himself with this one.
He really did. It gets me very excited to get to the recasting part of our show too.
Oh, I've got good ideas for that.
I've got some fun stuff coming up there.
Yeah,
but,
I do too. Deep cuts for that.
Yeah, but how was your week?
Week was really good. Taught a really fun workshop and with Amelia, and then I kind of collapsed in a heap for a couple days, which I needed, and I luckily had the time to do. Now I'm as you can see, I'm not in the normal studio. I'm up at friend of show mom's house,
Friend of the show, mom.
for the weekend, and or I don't even know what day it is for the week. What day is it today? Today's Tuesday. I've been up here for a couple days. I don't do specifics. I just don't.
Time. You lose time when you're at mom's. You go back to your childhood. Everything is cozy and warm, and you have cookies and milk, and you don't have to think about time.
I forgot my readers, my glasses at home, and she happened to have a pair of readers hanging around that belonged to an old friend of hers from like before lockdown. She said, "Don't even bother sending them to me." Now I'm wearing them, and I'm kind of getting used to it.
They're very nice on you, actually.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you. How are you? What's your life been like?
Oh, I had a weekend. My partner Bruce in the booze business. His wife was away for the weekend, and we've been friends for over 40 years since college.
Oh boy, I can feel it coming.
And he went to the French Culinary Institute, so I went down there for a weekend of a lot of really great food and what we in the booze business like to call R&D. We did a lot of research and development this weekend. Some people call that drinking. We call it work. But I also had a lot of work to do. Classes have started at the college. So between all my different jobs, I'm today I was drowning in meetings, and
no pun intended.
Really had to do a deep dive into the logistics of marketing. The pressure really getting to me.
It really does get to you.
Yeah. Sometimes I can't feel like I can't breathe, but we don't want the business to tank.
Well, you also don't want to feel caged in by any of these.
Don't want to feel caged in because some of these retailers we're dealing with and distributors, they're really sharks.
They'll tear you to pieces if you don't. If you don't cross your T's and dot your I's.
Yeah, and I'm so afraid of getting hosed, and I really want to make sure that in our meetings that I'm handling everything with a lot of finesse. I think I may be done now. I
don't think you should be done, and I think that we now have a new segment of the show. People are going to be waiting for this.
Puns?
They are going to be waiting for the shotgun of puns related to the film. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's wow. Did you watch anything good this week other than this week's selection?
I watched. Well, I finally finished Paper Girls. which happened to be the week that we learned, sadly, that the show looks like it is not going on for second season. I was devastated to hear that news. I didn't.
It's
I
crazy.
was so invested in that show in a way I don't usually get like invested in shows. And I'm not just saying that because we happen to know people involved. I just really thought it was great, and I'm sad. I'm sad it was over, but I got to finish that finally and love that.
And it just means that Sophia's going to get to move on to even bigger things.
Right.
So,
I did see a
I'll
Canadian
like bite you or something.
Grindhouse movie called Sudden Fury, which I can recommend. It's on Tubi, and it's remarkable. It's like if Fritz Lang had no money and was born in Saskatchewan.
Oh my goodness, that's an image. So, I think we have such a special guest tonight. I don't think we should I'm searching for another. I don't think we should be afraid of diving in to the deep end right away.
Are you sure?
You did the diving in, but let's just bring our guest in because at this point he's probably left the building and doesn't.
He probably left. He said, "What are these jerks talking about?" So, ladies and gentlemen, writer director Johannes Roberts.
Hola.
Buenos dias.
Hey,
¿Cómo están?
Hey guys.
Hi, Johannes.
That was an intro.
That was an intro and a half, as they say in the podcast biz. Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking me.
So it's such an interesting kind of confluence of things that brings us together because I hadn't seen the movie that you made with Sophia, but I just saw the trailer today, and she's all over it. She's got a big part in that movie. So you guys really work together, like a lot.
Yeah. That was a crazy one. That was a crazy one. Like a year out in India.
Wow.
Making that movie, but it was a lot of fun.
You shot like even was the studio stuff even in studio in India, like the whole year was there. Wow.
Yeah, the whole yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I mean, I know it's a funny place to start, but why not? We're already talking about it. What did you write that? You wrote that script too, yeah?
Yeah, it was one of those weird, like, sort of synchronicity things of the film industry, in that I'm obsessed with a movie called Pet Sematary, and had wanted to write a sort of Pet Sematary style movie.
All right, great.
And I was working with some Indian producers on a movie I had just done called Storage 24, and I was like, do you know what? I wonder if there's a world there, like to explore, because I really liked J horror, like The Grudge and The Ring and all that kind of stuff, and I thought it brought a lot of freshness to horror. And I was like, you know what? If I do a story set in India, and this kind of sort of Indian version of Pet Sematary sort of brewed in itself together in my mind, and I wrote this script, and my agent sent it around, and it landed on the desk of someone at 20th Century Fox, and they had known my previous movie, which was Storage 24, and they'd got the script to it before I had not written the script, and they got the script before I'd come on board, and said it was the worst script that they had ever read.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. And then in Sitges, the festival where it was playing, and they were like, "Oh, I want to see like what this movie, how bad this movie was." And she went to the screening, and I got up and introduced the movie, and she stayed for 5 minutes to see what it was going to be like, and then ended up staying through the whole movie, and then called my agent and said, "Look, what's he got? Because if he turned that script into this movie, which was a lot of fun, it's a B movie, monster movie kind of thing, what else has he got?" And he said, "Well, he's just written this ghost story set in India, and they had just left New Regency. Had just had a ghost story set in India called Song of Kali, which is quite a famous book with Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, I know that book. Actually, it's a terrifying book.
Yeah,
we don't talk about Darren Aronofsky on this show. He's in trouble with me. So
well, anyhow, he abandoned that movie had fallen apart, but they then moved to Fox, and they were looking for a ghost story set in India, and so it was just one of these weird kind of synchronicity things where it's just like, well, this is what he's got, and they were like, oh, great, and it kind of all fell together, and we had it, and Sophia got cast.
Had you been to India before conceiving of the story? Did you get to go to research, or were you just kind of like?
So for a year of my life, I was sort of going around India everywhere. Went down to Kerala, to Gujarat, Calcutta, and it was. When I first went there, I arrived in Mumbai, and I was like, "Holy shit, what is this place?" And I didn't get it at all. And then went a second time, and we went looking at locations, and then I flew out of Mumbai again. And when I got to Mumbai to fly out of it, I was like, yeah, this is the place. It's a very weird, it's a crazy place. It's the one filming location where I really miss it. I would love to go back. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely mad.
Wow. I've heard it's got to be a really wild place to shoot. I mean, really.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. You just have to go. You can't put your stamp on it. You have to go with the flow and just accept the madness. And and if you can do that, then it's really great fun. And the crews, the technicians were amazing. It was a really good experience, actually.
So, I mean, do you set out to do the most difficult things that you could possibly film in the world? Is that what you think when you sit down to write a story? Or
and the other question we wanted to ask was, do you hate actors? Like, I know what I want to do. I want to take my 2 actors and put them in a tank for 3 months.
Yeah. It was a weird one in that I was living at the time in this strange shithole, to be honest, in East London. It was just a real rat-infested sort of dive, and I was living with this guy who's sort of become my regular producing partner, but we'd known each other for ages. And we were sitting there, and I was going through the prep of 47, and Other Side of the Door. And it was just brutal, the development process, the battle between the studio and the production company. And it was going round and around. And at one point I lost the script and it went to someone else. And then it came back to me. It was a really tough process for a while there. And I was just sitting with him and we were getting drunk. And I said, I want to do something fun. And just in hindsight, thinking what I said and then what transpired, I just could not have been further from the truth. But I was like, I'm a huge scuba diver, and I was like, I want to do something fun. I love sharks. I want to go and do a shark movie. And so we looked around, seeing if there are any shark scripts, and couldn't find any. And then one night, very drunk, I pitched him an idea. I was like, what about this? Like 2 girls in a shark cage goes down to the bottom of the ocean, drops down. They have an hour in their tanks. They've got to get up to the surface, but you can't go straight up if you get the bends. So you have to do a safety stop while the sharks are around. And I pitched it, but I pitched it as a joke. I'd had a few, but and he took it to a sales agent called Altitude, and the main guy there was a diver, and he just went, "Do you know what? I think I can sell this." And so the producer James came back to me and he said, "Look, let's do it. They think they can sell it." And I was like, "This was a joke. I my movie, this is my proper movie." And
wow,
47. I'm like, come on, I wasn't serious. It's just a shark movie. And at that point, this kind of horror was really not in vogue, whereas it is very much since 47 in vogue.
Exactly.
It was like, this seems silly. And he was like, come on. And the one thing the sales agents said, and what everybody said when we pitched it, is like, well, how are people going to speak underwater? You know, how can you do this underwater? So they said, look, you know, we needed some kind of teaser trailer. And so the producer persuaded me to just direct the teaser trailer. So we went to Pinewood. They gave us the tank for free for a day. We found like the full face mask thing is not I don't know if you guys have done scuba diving.
I'm a diver, and my first question was, how are they going to do this movie? Nobody can talk to each other, and I didn't know about the full face mask technology.
So it isn't a thing. It's not a real thing, really. So we found one mask for this test that was something that had been used in some kind of 1970s to camera. The only reason you'd ever use it is for documentary, to broadcast, to speak to directly to a camera, because it is. I mean, it's incredibly dangerous because the carbon dioxide is building up in the mask,
right?
So if you don't flush it, if you don't, like, there's a valve there where oxygen, you can flush it out, but if you forget to do that, you'll just pass out.
Wait, what? Is that even safe?
And it's very clunky and it's very heavy, and you can't speak. You can speak to camera, but you can't have a conversation, even though theoretically they say you can do, but you can't. Like, sound travels super well through water, but radio waves do not at all.
Right.
So in fact, the technology was on it. Anyhow, we found this one mask. We did a test with an actress. Hilariously, at the time she was up and coming, but nobody knew her, called Vanessa Kirby, who's now got loads of awards for The Crown, and she's in Impossible, and she's now becoming a very big star. But anyhow, she did this little test with this terrible CGI shark doing a circle around it, and then we just sold the movie without a script everywhere. Wow. And then people were like, okay, well, we need to see the script. And it actually quite a tricky script to write, because to start with, it was like, okay, you know, four teenagers in a cage, and it just all became a bit like meh. And then it was like, okay, I happened to be watching one night Touching the Void, which is the mountain thing. And I was like, this is what it is. It's just two people, and it's not about the sharks. It's about the survival.
That was the coolest thing about the experience for me, was like, I mean, it's an incredibly exciting movie, and it's a lot of fun. And you go in thinking it's a shark movie. Yeah. Like, that's what you're kind of sold, that the poster says it's a shark movie. And so you're like, okay, it's a shark movie. So in your mind, now I admittedly had not seen it when it came out. I was working on my own film, and I was gone for a year, and I knew it was there. And being a huge Jaws fan from childhood and kind of liking the genre, I guess I just thought it was going to be more like Snakes on a Plane or something like that. I didn't really know. And again, you said
not at all.
This kind of horrors wasn't popping at that point. Like, this was not a flavor we were expecting, really. So the big takeaway for me was that this was a survival story. This is a survival story. There were so many other problems than the sharks that, in fact, were more terrifying to me than the sharks. Like, you know, and the great pleasure of the movie is that you go in expecting the shark scares, which you get, you know, but then it's the other stuff. It's the slow suspense, which frankly, that was the big surprise. Like, wow, of course, the simple idea of the air running out. I didn't thought we were going to go there, but then I'm like, oh, okay.
The thing that gave me the hardest time in the whole film as a diver was I sat there the whole time saying, how the fuck do you buddy breathe with those things?
Right.
Because I've had my basic, I've had my advanced, I've done night dives, I've done all kinds of stuff. And, to the point where buddy breathing is just second nature. You don't worry, something goes wrong with my tank, I'm going to buddy breathe with you. Everything's going to be fine. And from the beginning of the movie, I was freaking out because I go, you can't buddy breathe.
No, I mean you have the safety regulator.
Oh, you do? Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
you
they've got
do
that.
have like but you can't do the passing your regulator to each other. I mean, they're horrible. Those masks are horrible to use. So yeah, I mean, after we did the teaser and it kind of sold everywhere, and then the script worked, and the Weinsteins read the script and liked it, and they picked it up. Then when we did it for real, I mean, interestingly, if you type in the movie, actually, the first image by mistake somehow is normally, like when I was going to cinemas and stuff, the little image they would use, not on the poster boards or anything, but when you go to cinema, was always from the teaser with a different act. It was never Mandy Moore, it was Vanessa Kirby. So
wow.
I don't know quite how that happened, but yeah, we then use different masks, which are called, I think they're called diveway masks, and they're a real thing, but again, they're only really for direct broadcast, because it's ridiculous. It's the girls couldn't hear themselves. It's the sound of the bubbles and everything. There's just no way. The technology just isn't there. So it was very tough.
Thematically, also, I really took away some stuff I took two thematic things from the film that are going to stay with me. One, don't ever do anything just because you're bored. That's a bad reason to do something. You're going to die.
Yeah.
And the other thing that will get you killed is this will make a good picture. I mean, that's what we're learning these days. It's like man dies taking a selfie on the cliff.
It's so common now since your movie.
Yeah.
I hope you don't feel
Can you take a
responsible.
picture of me? Wait, huh? Oh shit! Sorry. Oh my god, the guys are gonna be so pissed. You've got to go and get them.
There you go. Don't take a selfie.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing in doing, like, we did a sequel to the movie, which is in many ways a more frightening setup, in that it's cave diving, which while I was doing.
Oh man.
That's mental. Like, while I was doing for the first 47, I learned to cave dive in the Dominican.
Honestly, what's wrong? Can you write a romantic comedy that takes place by a lake house or something? I mean,
cave diving, you have to be genuinely mental to do it properly. But it was a really interesting thing in that, the premise of the second one is 4 teenage girls go down to the underground city and then get trapped underneath in the city, and there's sharks in the city. But although the actual, once you're in there, is really, it's just a horrible experience. What it really taught me, it didn't do nearly as well as the first, because what the first did is it really was a good open access point to everybody, in that they could all relate to it, like being bored, doing something stupid on holiday, going on a trip that they really shouldn't do, taking a picnic, they shouldn't do it was kind of like, people could put they could go, that could have been me.
Absolutely. Every single one of those things I have done on vacation. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I'll go ballooning. Off the bow of a ship. Why not?
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
And the one thing is cave diving, I've learned no one could get beyond that. I mean, they watched it, but a lot of people were like, nah, I'd never do that.
Never. Did you now? So
I've done lava tubes. I've done lava tubes, and that's enough.
Yeah.
But like in a Zodiac, right? Or have you been scuba
No, I mean
diving
I've scuba diving gone up through the lava tubes.
Cleared. That's pretty.
So
but they're open on either end. You're not
okay. You can yeah.
But more sharks can get to you because it's open on both ends. Think about that.
The shark almost got me.
So how much time? I mean, what percentage of this latest one, which I have to see, of course, I should have seen. I didn't even realize how much I missed But how much was in studio on this one, and how much was in a real cave, for instance?
Oh, with the cave diving one, we built. No, you couldn't. It was all studio. You couldn't do that for real. But it was pretty dangerous because I mean, you could, as long as the water's over you, it doesn't matter how.
Yeah,
deep.
no, you could. Yeah.
But we built all the caves in
Okay, so there wasn't even like an entrance cave that you found in Kauai or something, and we're like, we'll pretend that's okay. Okay,
we
because I would imagine insurance alone for actors to do any caving would just be like, no, that's not.
Was probably not great. Yeah. No, that was all done. I mean, both of them were all done in tanks and built.
What? Where did Modine come from? How did that happen?
Where did he come from?
Was it Cutthroat Island? Was it that you felt there was this...
Yeah. It was. We were already shooting. I want to say we were definitely far into prep, and Mandy and Claire were there already, and someone had suggested him, and then his agent was like, "Look, this is seemed to be a good idea." And I chatted to him. I remember I was in a pub in God knows where this tank was. It was a very shitty little tank we shot the first movie in Basildon, which is like
in London, in
outskirts of London, by a recycling plant. You could not have picked the best glamorous location,
right?
And
it's like Stalker. It's terrifying.
Oh, it was awful. But yeah, I spoke to him. He was pretty apprehensive to start with, and he was like, what they call Harvey and Bob, they call them scissor hands, and he was like, he didn't necessarily want to get into this, but in the end he agreed to do it. And I mean, he's a friend now. It was the toughest experience I've ever been through in my life, that movie, and he was just like a beacon of like, he was just the nicest guy. I remember we shot all his stuff at the end when we shot the sort of outside stuff in the Dominican Republic, and he was just such a wonderful, like, giving guy. He would tell stories of Full Metal Jacket as literally he'd just come off the plane from shooting.
Wow.
It was fresh.
Wow.
New. The crew would just like hover around him. And I remember the first day we shot, and he's having to tie a knot at the end of the pier. And I'm shooting with the girls at the top of the pier, and I don't really need him at the end of the pier. I'm not seeing him, but he's like, look, I'll go down there. And he's going down there and he's doing his knot, and he wants to do it properly. He's doing his knot. And I'm with the girls just keeping the show on the road at the top of the pier. And then it's like, for one reason or another, we didn't get to his bit then. And we're like, okay, let's break. And we're just walking away. And I'm like, has anybody got Matthew? And he's still down at the end, just doing his knot. Just happily.
Oh, wow.
Buenos dias. ¿Cómo están?
But he's super nice. And so in the second one, if you watch the second one, you'll see the school is named Modine International.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I will
He's really
definitely be watching the second one.
Yeah.
And he could return. Why can't he? Did he not want? Was he not available to return?
The second one is totally separate. Is a totally separate story.
So it's not like a Jaws 3 where you're like,
no,
it's a family curse and okay.
Yeah, no, there's no company.
That was wise, I think, of you to avoid that.
Yeah. I mean, I literally every meeting I go, I'm like, well, it's what about Matthew? It doesn't matter who they're like. We need a teenage kid. What about Matthew Modine? I reckon.
Yeah. Well, just listening to you talk for this past half hour or so, I really want you really want to work with you someday, because so many of your stories have been, well, I was really drunk and I came up with this idea, or I was in this pub and this idea, this thing, or we were out for a drink and blah. So that's my kind of work environment.
Yeah. It's the only way you can get through it. It's the only way you can get through it.
So there's a couple of shots in the movie that there's one moment in a shot that I will remember forever. And it's the shot of her face mask filling with blood when she first gets down there. I don't know. I mean, it's a simple enough shot. I guess you're doing a lot of CGI in ways I don't understand, because I guess to even get the water effects, there's layers of things going on there.
No,
Broccoli. It's broccoli.
Yeah, it is a very spit and sawdust movie. There is so little there. We shot it on like $3 million, so we had no money.
I saw the budget and I was like, I have to. I mean, that's crazy. What you got for that is crazy.
No, we had no money, and everybody turned it down for that reason to start with, because they were like, you just can't make. Because I didn't want to make. The thing that I was obsessed with is not Jaws. I mean, I love Jaws, but I wanted to make The Abyss. I love underwater.
I knew. I saw that crane arm coming down. I'm like, this dude likes The Abyss.
Yeah. I was like, I grew up on those kind of movies that there was a little period of deep sea movies, Abyss, Leviathan, and stuff, and I really wanted to go there.
Deep Star 6, was that another one?
Yeah, Deep Star 6 was a classic. Has not aged very well. I would add to that.
It depends what hour of the night.
Yeah. But
and how much you've had to drink.
So so normally it plays pretty well with me.
Yeah.
There's all what you see, like we developed something there which I really hadn't been done before. The sort of the two of the biggest sort of things in that movie that I was very lucky with was my editor, who, like, imagine editing a movie like that. It's just hours and hours of blue. Like, there's
I know, I'd go crazy.
In, like, I don't know, the blue scene, you know.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I gotta sense this.
So that I, you know, he deserves an OB or something from that. But the camera team, Mark Silk, the DP, and Bernie, the gaffer, and their whole team were just incredible. And they just saved my ass on that. They wanted to help me. They could see I remember just standing by that crane arm, which was fucking heavy. Like, everything was built out of like fucking iron.
Right.
And I just remember standing, looking down at the tank before we started filming, and I just remember thinking, and I've never really felt that before in a movie, going, I have no fucking idea how.
God, God,
none at all.
Yeah.
And they were just artists, those guys, and we developed this system because most of the time when you watch underwater, it's just super clear and it doesn't feel. It just feels like a tank, and so we put broccoli. We just had trucks, literally trucks and trucks of broccoli coming in, and I had 100 people just blending the broccoli, and then we would have a broccolizer, which was a diver that would go and sprinkle broccoli round.
No, why broccoli? What was the testing process? Was it like, were you looking for?
Everything. We tried kelp, organic, sprouts, you name it. We tried everything, but broccoli was the thing that worked because of
Are you sure?
See it all there in that little clip.
Because of its color or its texture.
Yeah,
what was it?
Just texture and but you had to get it right in our first day shooting. We didn't do it well enough, and you can see the girls are all there, and then there's little florets of blocks. But when we shot the movie, like, the tank was as rudimentary as you could possibly imagine. It's you can imagine Mandy and Claire, the two actresses, arriving from Hollywood and and they thought they were Pinewood, and we end up in Basildon in this tank in a recycling plant, and there's, you know, an industrial area, and it's just awful. The tank is basically an enormous swimming pool with a plastic covering, and it was a heat wave when we shot it, and in England you don't have air conditioning, and we were sitting in that plastic tent with the heat wave, with the broccoli fermenting in the tank. And then also, like, people just go to the loo in the tank, you know, So it would the tank was
because you get changing your suit. It's going to be an
Yeah.
hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Alexis has just put in the chat, worldwide gross 44 million. It was actually 62.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that now. Congratulations.
It grossed 44 in America.
What an incredible like indie movie victory you had here. It's so incredible what happened with this film.
Yeah.
How quick? I mean, you doubled your money in the first weekend here, right? I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it was. So what happened is, and it's never happened in cinema. What happened with us I believe in the history of cinema, this never happened. Is we tested the movie without the sharks, as you do. You know, you do a test screening. It had some sort of grayscale sharks and stuff in there, and the movie tested fine. At the time, Mandy Moore wasn't a star again. Nobody knew her, so we didn't really have any sort of star power there. And the movie tested fine. And I remember I was working with Bob Weinstein all the time at that time, and he was a smart guy, and he had really helped me get the movie to where it needed to be theatrically, and we would speak all the time. And then we did the test, and it tested fine. And then I never heard from him again, ever. And it was probably a few months later, and I was. The Weinstein Company said, "Hey, look, we're doing this show called The Mist. Do you want to do an interview for a director spot on it?" And I was like, "That's weird. They never asked me to come on any of these things. Why are they doing that now?" And as I'm waiting, I'm on a Zoom call, and all I'm seeing is an empty screen of the person's room. And I'm there, and I just type in, as you do as a director, 47 meters down. And an article came up, and it said, 47 meters down is going straight to video next month. And I was like, what the fuck? No one had told me, nothing. And the Weinsteins had just dumped the movie, just completely dumped the movie. So the woman comes on and says hi. And she says, "Oh, you just worked with us on 47. I heard it worked really well." And I said, "Yeah, you've just fucked us. Thank you very much on that." And that was
We're going to die down here.
We're not going to die down here. We're not going to die down here.
That was the end of that interview. But anyhow, so the movie was like going straight to video, and it was just utterly devastating. And I called my script writing partner, and I was like, "Look," because it had been the hardest experience of my life, and I was like, "Look, let's go write something else." He works in Spain, in Mallorca and Ibiza, so I said, "Let's go to Ibiza." Write something. We sat down there, and I said, "Look, let's just acknowledge what's happened to the movie, and I never ever want to speak about this movie ever again. Okay, so we acknowledge it now. We say what's happened, and it's done." And we're writing there, and then midway through the week, the producer James calls me up, and he says, "Look, I didn't want to call you. I don't want to get in your head or anything, but this guy Byron Allen just watched the movie, loves it, wants to buy it off Bob." And then nobody wanted to deal with the wines. Nobody wanted to, we'd shown it to other people like Lionsgate and Blumhouse and stuff, but nobody wanted to deal with trying to get it off the Weinsteins. And the Weinsteins didn't want to sell it to anybody else because they didn't want, to give a movie to someone else that might become something. But Byron was new at the game and new in town, and so there was not that threat there. And he was like, "Look, it might happen. Bob seems to be engaging." Anyhow, I was like, "Okay." I told my scriptwriting partner, but I said, "Look, we forget about it." And then by the end of the week, James is calling me, and he's going, "Look, I think this is gonna happen. This is gonna go." And I was like, "Fuck!" And it's like they want it. Byron wants to take it out. He doesn't just want to take it. He wants to take it and put it on 2,500 screens and all that kind of thing. And then I was like, "I think this is going to go now," to my scriptwriting partner. And then we got back home, and I was sitting in my terrible flat, and it was about 2 or 3 in the morning. And James called again, and he said, "They're about to sign the deal. It fell through. I'm sorry." and I burst out into tears because the emotional roller coaster movie is. And Bob then sent all the DVDs. He'd retitled it, the movie In the Deep, and he sent all the DVDs off to Amazon, Walmart, Target, to all the places, because it was coming out then, like in the next couple of weeks. So they all went off, and then Byron came back and he bought that fucking movie. And it was like, okay, but the DVDs have gone off. And they're like, okay, well, we'll get them back. But you can't get them back because they're out there. And Walmart went early and put them up on stands. People were calling me going, oh, I bought your movie.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
And
What?
Within 2 days, it was pirated all across the world. It was subtitled in Russian. It was in Russian supermarkets.
Oh, my God.
And so it was like, oh, okay, well, the movie's dead. The movie's dead. And we were just like, fuck it. But Byron was like, no, I'm going to persevere with this. And it's like, okay, but you've got to release it now, like before it gets, before. And he's like, no, I'm going to wait a year. The Shallows had just come out. We had started before The Shallows, and Sony had, and I've spoken to someone at Sony who had confirmed this. Sony had seen that our script and everything and gone, oh, that's a great idea, and then had beaten us.
Of course.
But The Shallows had done well, and Byron was like, we are going to go on the date of The Shallows next year. And I was like, the movie's dead. Like, you're never going to, like, it's going to be out there for a year. Everybody in the world's going to have seen it. But he insisted, and I have to say, to his credit, I would not ever, there's no point in my life I can foresee, and I'm the maker of this, who have had that confidence to do that. And then they set the release date. He went behind it with the marketing, and he really went for it. We got like an amazing stroke of luck in that. In between, Mandy became a star again with This Is Us,
right?
Like shows. Right. So her profile picked up, and that really helped. But the tracking was disastrous. So I was just shooting another movie because I'd taken another movie. Nobody wanted to, there were no job offers coming in at the time because 47 looked like it was just dead. And I was just shooting another movie, and the premiere was midway through, and I took a plane to the premiere, and Byron done this amazing premiere, and it was like, yeah, this is going on, 3,000 screens, and it's going to be massive, and it's going to be great. And then I spoke to like his booking guy, and they were like, no, tracking's terrible, it's going to bomb. It's going to do like 2 million run of the weekend, maybe 4 million run of picture, and everybody just said it was going to bomb. And then it came out, and it just connected, and it came in at number 5. It didn't open, but it opened solid. But then, and the cinema score was terrible. It's like C. So everybody was like, okay, well, you survived, but now you're done. Now you're toast. And then the next weekend it went up the charts, and then it just carried on and on and on. And it was just the most amazing.
I think a lot of that might have been because of those people who came to the premiere with you must have just really, really, with people like that walking the red carpet with you, you're gonna just wow.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Kick myself for not having seen it in theater. That had to be a hell of a first weekend to see a movie and to get surprised by something like this. I mean, I really missed out.
It was seeing the premiere was one of the weirdest experience that I've ever had, because it was like 2,000 people at the Westwood, and we screened it, and people are into it, and it's fine, it's going well. And then there's a point in the movie where Mandy's getting up to the surface, and then the cage falls back down, and it lands on her leg, and it traps her underneath.
Yes.
And you could feel the whole atmosphere in the room change of like, what the fuck? And then I have never in my life experienced anything like the flare sequence where 2,000 people as one stood up and screamed. And then from
Yeah.
there on in, people were screaming at the screen. They were going, "Go, Mandy, fucking go, go!"
Awesome.
She was in front of me, and she just turned to me, and I just looked at her. And I actually didn't know if they were they joking? Were they like into it? And I had no idea what the reception was, because it was so over the top. But it just connected with people.
I can. I mean, you really allowed for the full horror, all of the horror of the experience to really sit there with you at the bottom of that cage for a little while, and it gets in your head. That's the thing about it. It's not just shock after shock. I'm convinced it's some of that time you took down there of them just kind of like waiting it out to wait for somebody to save them, which is what anybody would do, and reinforces that they're really not your typical heroes in a movie. Like their plan is to wait for somebody to get them, and that time just did something to your head watching the movie, so that every new thing that went wrong is just like such a gut punch for me. I gotta say, the thing that got me most sick to my that made me want to throw up in fear was when she crosses, when the cavern opens up and she
I'm at the edge of some sort of cliff. I can't see the ocean floor.
That freaked me out. And I was sitting in a living room in my mother's house watching it like on a flat screen, which is not the way you wanted people to see this movie, and I was not happy that had to happen. It was so unnerving. How did that sequence play? Did people must have quieted down in that moment?
I think that the movie works in a sense because, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, the science behind it is ridiculous, but it does have a groundedness in someone that is a scuba diver. And that scene had happened to me in a certain way. I had been diving off Sharm el Sheikh in Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt, and the diver I was with, the guide I was with, said, "Look, you know, we were diving around a reef and stuff," and he's like, "Look, now I want to take you out into the blue. It's quite an experience, because normally you stay close to some kind of rocks, because otherwise you don't see anything."
Yeah.
And he did this thing where he took us out into the blue, and you just went forward into this amazing blue sea, and there were just fish like passing you, but there was no up, there was no down, there was no, and I was just like, this is freaky as fuck, and I want to write this into a movie. and that idea of just being like totally like suddenly that moment of like, oh, I'll just come back. Oh
yes. And that she wouldn't know where to go, that she would clearly not lose direction. It's so, that's a convention in some movies where you're like, okay, well, I'll believe they lost track of where they were, but there's no way you could tell where to go in that moment.
None.
Yeah,
no. You're with her.
Is anyone there? Please, someone answer me.
I wasn't ahead of her. I wasn't ahead of her as the audience going, oh, but you won't know where you are when you get out. She gets to that point, and I was right with her. So bravo on that, man. It's very hard. I watch a lot of horror. I think we probably watched some similar things growing up. And it takes a lot for me to get uncomfortable, like to literally for a movie to get under my skin. And you did it, man.
That's great. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I have to say on that, if you see the dailies on that particular sequence, I had to shoot that in the Dominican in a overhead in a tank that didn't have a covering, so it was super light, and the production design, the rocks and stuff, like the rocks she gets onto and stuff looked, I mean,
well, you sold it.
That's the visual effects people really came into their own there. I mean, we were very lucky with the company Outpost that did the visual effects on it. They had never done the visual effects. Were done by a company that didn't work in London, and this guy Duncan, he set his company up outside a university and just took the best students from the university to make his And so it was really, we had students working on this movie.
That's
you know,
so cool. That's fantastic.
That's great.
to create something. You know, he did some amazing job.
You know, and I gotta say, I gotta tip my hat to you too, because I spend 90% of my time working with my students on story, and it's really hard to fake me out.
Yeah.
It really hard for me to be watching a movie or reading a script and not see, okay, so that's going to be the twist, the nitrogen narcosis at the end, that twist did not, you set it up for us, but I didn't take the bait, and it got, and I was like, you got me. You
I
got me.
Same. And you got us dead to rights too, because you did explain it, and it wasn't like a fake out. Like some films can do that, where they'll take a moment and they're like, no, but it was a dream. This is not, you kind of feel like it was wasted time or something. But you
gave us all the
information
we needed.
Keep your you really got us good, man.
Yeah,
so sad, crushingly. It's like horrible. And it felt like the production design and the light. Sorry to go, but like when that realization happens, did the movie not take on a different color palette? Like, did it start to change into a darker movie?
I don't know if we did. I can't remember if we did anything different there. We had to fight hard. Bob didn't want it, that ending. He said it's too dark, and we fought hard for it, and in the end compromised by saving Mandy. So we did like a pickup of Mandy. So I actually wanted to leave the movie with the camera just coming up away from the cage with Mandy just laughing crazily to herself.
You really do like horror movies.
Wow,
bless you, man. That's great. That's great.
And I think he was probably right. I mean, I remember again in that screening at the Westwood, is like people were so into the movie, and then when the twist happened, I was like, I think I need to get out of here because I think someone's going to kill me.
Look, that's a hard call. I mean, I would imagine that it's got to be, especially on the big screen, a pretty punishing movie to go through, and you kind of like after all of that, you've put the audience through all of that, and it's not just in your right head anymore or on a page. It's like, no, you've really put them through this. Do you want to leave them just feeling like their world is over? Or
ripped him to pieces.
If you'd kept the original ending with just zooming away from Mandy laughing and us knowing she was going to die, then I would make the double feature with this silent running. The end of the movie is the little robot in the garden, alone.
Silent running.
I applaud your ending, though. I secretly wish I could have seen that. That really would have been something.
The other thing I loved the spear gun trigger on the bolt. Just so well placed. That was.
Do you know what that is? If I'm remembering correctly, I think I owe that to Martin, my editor, in that I don't think it had been designed that way. Like the whole sequence of her getting the oxygen tank and everything, that was all there. And then when we were cutting it together, Martin was just like, look, it looks like it's going to shoot her. And it was like, really? Does it? And it's like, yeah, it really looks like she's going to get, she's pulling that thing and it looks like it's going to go for it. So we then went back and then shot, added a little close up on the trigger and stuff like that. But I think that was his very smart idea there.
Well, they always say the editor gets to do the last rewrite. So
yeah.
And the other thing is I loved I knew that but I think you expected us to know this.
Yeah.
That there was only going to be part of Javier holding that flashlight.
Yeah.
Javier's dead.
What? Jesus.
I mean, that flashlight was too still for too long.
Yeah. Yes.
Nothing good is coming at the end of this strip.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't have got out the cage for that myself. I think.
Can I ask, what do you have a proudest scene from the film? Is there a moment or sequence that you just
I really
particularly
like.
feel like you nailed?
I mean, I do endlessly chuckle at the flare sequence because it's ridiculous. It's just nonsensical with these three, sharks just waiting. But I just love how impactful it is.
It's such a great reveal. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I think that's a movie that I just normally in when I look at a movie, I'm like, oh, that I've done. I'm like, yeah, I really loved this bit or that bit. With 47, I just feel like it's a very complete, like, efficient movie that is just as a one whole kind of thing.
It's compact.
It just does its thing. There's no nonsense there. It just goes for it.
Mr. Chuck! Hello! I really want to do a deep dive into some of your other work because I ran across the phrase "naked bisexual female monsters." That's that's an oeuvre. That's a genre that I've really.
I started my career doing these kind of zero budget, exploitation B movies, and in the world of DVD when DVD was still a thing. So yeah, that was Forest of the Damned, which was. I mean, these movies, they're not good. They were like a run of sort of 5 pictures that I did, and they're not great movies, but they taught me my trade. It taught me how to, like, once you've directed a movie on $20,000, all set in a forest at night with naked girls and a cast getting eaten and it was carnage. Like people were getting it was.
They sound like great movies to me.
Yeah. I mean, my mum was super impressed with that one.
That's going to be a long. That's going to be a long weekend for me.
Yeah.
Definitely Hellbreeder, Dark Hunters, Forest of the Damned, and
this is a gift of this is like a film festival that awaits me. I'm thrilled about that. I also need to know though, how did the Uri Geller connection happen? I saw you work with Uri Geller.
Yeah, so I did my first movie. I'd never done anything, and I'd graduated from a film school that was not in England. You didn't have at the time like proper film school, so it was just like this kind of shitty little place. Graduated, and I was never going to be the person that was ever going to go anywhere in the industry, and the film industry in England wasn't an industry. So I was just like, okay, with a friend, we said, right, we're going to call ourselves film directors, and we're going to make a movie. And over the course of the year, wrote a movie called Diagnosis, which got retitled Sanitarium. And I found that I was very good at persuading people to give me stuff for free, and I got a hospital for free, and I got everything that we needed, and we got the cameras and stuff. We shot it all on film on Super 16 for the massive budget of £5,000.
When everybody was shooting with like the PD 150 and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it was sort of that turning point. It was the last days of films, and made the movie, took it to Cannes. Went out with a bag full of trailers to the market in Cannes, took it to all the sales agents. They basically said, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. Please never come back to us. And I really learned, and it's a skill that then has sort of followed me through in my career, is like, you need to reshoot. And with horror, it's a big thing. It's like, look at your movie and look at because horror is about scare beats and tension and just all that kind of stuff. And that sometimes it's hard to work that out on a script, on a page. And once you see the movie, you're like, oh fuck, we need this, this, and this. And one of the things that all the sales agents told us is, you need a star. And so it was the time, it's 2000, and there was time you could get stars emails online.
Right.
We wrote to like Michael Caine, Sylvester Stallone, you name it, we wrote to them, and obviously nobody got back to us. But the one person that did was Uri Geller, and he said yes.
I mean, okay, but
Love to be
he's on a list with Sylvester Stallone. That's the question.
And so we got him in the movie. He acted on his own. He wouldn't act with any other actors, so we had to shoot his bits like separately. He was very nervous, and shot it. And it became a very funny period of my life, in that for 6 months we were in the Geller zone. I got to go to his wedding, meet Michael Jackson. It was a very weird time.
Wow.
And there's nothing, I tell you what, there's nothing weirder than being in a coffee shop in Soho or whatever with Uri Geller, because people don't really believe he exists. Like if you're with a star, that's one thing, but they sort of in their minds, he's a bit like a cartoon or something. You could see people like having a coffee and then looking across and going, "Is that Uri Geller?"
Yeah, that's
or we were cool. He would try and introduce us to people, and he'd call like film companies and stuff and get us a meeting, and they go, "Yeah, well, who is it?" And he's like, "It's Uri Geller," and they're like, "Yeah, no, who is it really though?" And it was a very funny sort of little period.
He's still alive.
Yes, he's still going. He's still going. I see him in the papers every now and again, threatening to, use his mind to win football tournaments and
do something, Uri. Do something.
Yeah, that was a weird period.
I have to see that. You also, I mean, you wrote the film for the sequel to 47 Meters Down. Where did you write that script?
I wrote it. I was banished, I think, to Joshua Tree to write that, because my script writing partner was like, "You need to." I see a note from Alexa saying, "I wrote it at your guys' house. Did I do a draft there? I don't remember that. I know I had to. I had a tough time writing that one, so my producing partner would send me off.
Stay calm. Make a decision."
Oh, there were lots of drinks involved. Oh, with Ernest. Yes. Okay. Yes. Well, that does.
We're getting to the bottom of it.
That does sound very very familiar.
Well, I've spent time at their house drinking some of the stuff that Anatoly makes, so I understand how you might not remember.
Yeah, remember that. Yeah. No, I don't have specific recollection of that.
Were you at college, Matthew, when Mark Frost stayed at our house and was writing what I like to believe was Twin Peaks in our house?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I do remember that.
So similar stories. I can just imagine you, Johannes, like stumbling out in your bathrobe, having been writing till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting ready for school. I have so many of your films to see. I'm so excited to have talked to you and to have met somebody who fucking scared me. Yeah, I wait all my life for a movie to get under my skin. I can't tell you how excited I was that happened.
We do a little thing here towards the end of the show. We have a few little set pieces that we do that you're welcome to join in on.
Okay.
Where we always try to decide what would be the perfect double feature with the movie we're discussing that week.
Okay.
Do you have one, Anthony?
I thought of The Abyss, but I thought it would be somehow too obvious. I thought of going with something like 127 Hours would be another survival story about being locked in place and what you do. I think it's 127 hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it's called, right? Yeah. I thought that would make it, but this would follow 127 hours.
Okay.
We definitely we'd hit the 11 o'clock midnight showing for 47 Meters Down. Yeah.
Too busy.
I went the other way. I paired this with Blue Lagoon to be trapped on an island with a half naked Brooke Shield.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Have that one on again. Yeah. Yeah. I think
So-
I would, if I had to pair it, I think I would. There's a movie that's just come out that the producer of this did, which is basically 47 meters up. So would make a very
Oh
good.
yes,
It's
I've seen the
called-
previews for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's very good. It's almost unbearably tense though. It's like you're just on this pole like thousands of meters high.
Is it
and
like a
it's
sky elevator, like a space elevator
It's,
thing? that
it's
there's-
like a telecom,
Oh.
a telecom tower.
But how do they get the sharks up there? I'm confused.
Yeah, it's vultures. They have vultures instead of sharks.
Oh, giant. Ah, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Like Quexico, like that movie Q, they could have done. That would have been a good thing to add the
Yeah.
monster from Q to
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
Eat him! Eat him!
Oh,
That chomp,
Yeah.
horrible.
hell of a chomp.
That was so horrible when that happened. My God.
Yeah. This movie was that shot there was never meant to be that shot. Mandy just fell. She
Oh,
was
that's
trying to
how
climb
she fell.
up, and she fell, and then we were
Into
like,
the mouth of the
editing
shark.
it. We're like, oh fuck, why don't we pull her down?
That's-
Why don't we get a shot? And it just
Wow.
it worked.
That's incredible, man. I mean,
Wow.
you say that you did make this like on the fly practically, but
Yeah.
it's true, and it just doesn't it doesn't feel or look like that for a second. It's just it's
Yeah.
amazing what you guys did.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a weird thing having done a lot of visual effects since that movie. And do you know what? Sometimes, you when you're on set, you have all these people telling you how to, like, you need to get this, that, and the other, and the camera should do this, and then the visual effects will sit in great. But there is a wonderful thing about being a little bit more on the fly in that I'm sure it makes their lives a lot harder, but the shot then doesn't feel like a visual effect shot because it feels like a real moment. So yeah, it can work a little that way, but it does make people's lives harder.
Another little
thing
game we play. Oh, I was going to say another little game we play is what is the best way to watch this movie? In what circumstance or setup?
Yeah, Pirate Bay.
Mine was during last week's heat wave here in California, sitting in a kiddie pool with a big bowl of ceviche and a cooler of Corona.
Yeah.
I say go back a little bit in time, take Mandy Moore to a mall opening, and throw this in the face of all those like little kids that come to see some singing and dancing.
Yeah,
Then really see something. That's a screening.
I can tell you the worst, which is they did in England. They did a sort of publicity thing where they built a cage and they had a very bad plastic shark and they put it by the Thames, and then they had Eamon Holmes, who's like a famous like daytime presenter, and he got up and they had like these 3D VR goggles where they had some kind of, it wasn't the movie, but it was like some kind of version of it, and you could watch it, and then a guy would come with a stick and he would sort of prod you to make it the least convincing, the least visual.
That's ridiculous.
Wait, what? Is that even safe?
To see this chubby like presenter there swaying by the Thames with this plastic shark that looked like a cake or something.
I miss those publicity stunts. There's not enough of those. Those
No.
are great. Who would we? Who Matthew and I be in the movie?
You're Matthew, you're Claire, and Anthony, you're Mandy. I can see.
We were never in competition.
I appreciate. Thank you.
That's very kind of you. But my answer to that question was, there is absolutely no one we could be in this movie unless, in my recasting of the movie, the other thing we do is we recast the entire movie with a different cast. And what I came up with was a version of the movie in which you and I are the guys who convince them to go to the cage.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like, yeah.
And the two women are Catherine O'Hara and Joan Cusack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg is the jerky guy on the boat.
Yeah.
And James Taylor is the captain.
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
James Taylor, the singer,
The singer, James Taylor, plays the captain on the boat.
in like a throwback to Two-Lane Blacktop or something. What? I don't understand that. But
I think it would work much better if you kept the rest of the cast the same, and you're like the two hot Latino kids who are like, "Hey, come!"
Right, with accents and like all of it.
Yeah.
No shirts, perfect. That's what the kids want to see today.
Yeah.
I cast us as I cast you as the craft service, Matthew, and I was an on-set driver. But my recast of the movie, I generally try to do a recast into the past, and so I felt like this would be in let's go to the 50s, and let's get to like Shelley Winters and Janet Leigh to play the sisters, as they both had very many famous watery deaths, and get like Richard Carlson, who was in the Creature from the Black Lagoon, to play the Matthew Modine part, and get who did I have? Michael J. Pollard could play the guy who dumps the chum over the boat and is kind of offensive and frightening. That's the direction I went. And you see, I have a lot of time on my hands, more time than Matthew.
Definitely.
I was proud of the Shelley Winters Janet Leigh thing. I got nothing from you both, but I feel that was actually pretty good because Shelley Winters drowns in 8 movies, and Janet Leigh drowns in a shower in her own blood.
Yeah, all right, in her own blood.
This is deep cuts, man. All right,
that's pretty good. Those were deep cuts.
Very.
Back to the puns. So next week, I don't know if you want to come back on the show next week when we talk about Mac and Me from 1988, otherwise known as
Johannes,
Poor Man.
I think it's
Poor Man's E.T.
I think Johannes, you should think about coming back because I know you like that movie, and I think we all make a great trio. I think it would be a good conversation. Just think about it.
But I think we're going to do a deep dive, if you will, into some of your other movies and bring you back if you've got the time.
Yeah, please. I'd love to.
We'd love to have you back. I want to see the sequel to this, which is called 47 Meters Down Uncaged.
Yeah. Look at that. Hold that still for a moment.
Brilliant.
Look at the wonderful misstep with the marketing in there. Like, do you know what? We could do it, the shark coming sideways. And it's like, okay, great. And then people can just take their photo by the shark. And I'm like, yeah, great. But nobody knows what the fucking title of the movie is because it's right in front of the title right where people stand. So people have got all these and they're putting them up on the internet.
That is amazingly silly. Look, of course.
Yeah.
For Ter's Own Age.
Yeah. Okay. Hey. Own Age.
I love this. So what do you have coming out? Do you have something coming out now, or are you working on something?
I've got to go. I've just finished Resident Evil, which came out last year, and then I've got to go to Toronto on Thursday for the premiere of something I did called VHS 99, which is
that part of the VHS series
anthology thing. Yeah. So that's worked pretty well. The people seem to be pretty excited by that.
You have a segment in that, or did you produce the whole
No, I had a segment in that. And it's to be honest, the way I pitched it was 47 meters down in a coffin. So it's pretty disturbing. It's
good. Okay.
Really uncomfortable watching.
I like that series. I can't wait.
Yeah. And then we'll see, maybe there's a 47 meters down 3 at some point. Who knows?
Thank God.
Marketing, 48 meters down, 49 meters down.
That's what I wanted. They wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Like, no, the people won't get that it's a sequel. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever they say. Johannes, thank you so much for talking to us today.
This
was
was
great.
Such a pleasure to meet you.
Cool. Anytime. I'm happy to jump back on.
That's great. And join us next week for 1988's Mac and Me, starring the lovely Christine Ebersole and Jonathan Ward.
Yeah.
Talking
Excellent.
about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win a Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime,